It is All Hallows Eve, a time when the doors to other worlds is open, and the souls of the dead are able to enter our world. Is it a time when it is said that the living dead inhabit our earthly dwellings, that they walk among us? Now, this may sound silly to you, and you may be skeptical. I used to be skeptical too. But now I am a true believer. And if you give me just 10 minutes, I feel confident that you will become a believer too. I will expose you to facts, indisputable facts, that can have one and only one conclusion: that the dead have risen from their graves. I will share with you not wives' tales, not stories handed down from generation to generation around a campfire, but news stories. News stories from some of the world's most reputable news sources who unknowingly have exposed the truth. It wasn't their goal, but they exposed the truth that zombies are real. When I finish sharing with you my research, when I have laid out all the information, I'm going to take your calls to see if I have proven it to you. Remember this number, 248-356-1270. 248-356-1270. Call after I have laid it out and see if I have proven to you that the living dead have risen from their entombments. Fact number one. Just last May, right here in Michigan, a state audit indicated that dead people and prisoners voted in Michigan between 2008 and mid-2011. This is a state audit that determined that dead people voted. More than 1,300 deceased people were recorded as having voted right here in the Mitten State. Now, officials told auditors that in some instances, voters submitted absentee ballots shortly before they died. In some instances, but not in all. 1,300 people voted, and in some instances, voters submitted absentee ballots shortly before they died, but not in all. You will see, you will likely see these people voting when you vote next Tuesday. When you go to vote, I think it's quite possible that you will see pale people walking with their arms stretched out in front of them with ragged clothes, casting their votes in your voting place. Because we know that in some instances, dead people voted. A Maryland group says it has found 2 cases of apparent votes cast by dead people when they examined information of 35,000 registered voters. In fact, in Maryland, the group known as Election Integrity Maryland said it identified definitively 3 people that were registered to vote after their deaths. Let me tell you the story of Eugenia. Sadly, her daughter died of breast cancer. Her name is Michelle. And according to her mom, her daughter's name, her dead daughter's name, and signature was filed this year in Palm Beach County to get registered to vote. This is long after her daughter's death. The form with her daughter's name on it shows her requesting a new voter card this year. Now, her mother said her daughter was long dead and didn't even live in the state anymore. That she had left the state 3 years before this happened, and still several years after she died. Her mother said she couldn't have signed it. I don't know how they got her name, but I think it's clear. Sadly, tragically, her daughter is a zombie. In South Carolina, the Attorney General, Alan Wilson, has officially notified the U.S. Justice Department that a recent analysis has shown that 953 ballots were cast by voters listed as dead. This is in South Carolina this year. 71% of those 953 cases, ballots were cast between 2 months and 76 months after the people died. That means that of the 953 people that voted while dead, they had been dead up to 6 1/3 years. See, this has not just been happening this year. This has been going on for a long, long time. It's just most people are afraid to discuss it. Most people will not tell you of what goes bump in the night. Most people will not share it with you. I don't know if it's out of fear. Might just be one of those things you're not supposed to talk about. But I'll share it with you. I'll tell you about what has happened years ago. North Carolina, 2007. The State Board of Elections uncovered 24,821 invalid driver's license numbers and 700 invalid Social Security numbers in the voter registration database. Now that's bad enough, but that's easily explained. 24,000 invalid driver's license numbers, any number of things could be responsible for that. 700 invalid Social Security numbers, any number of things could be responsible for that. But what could be responsible? What could be the answer to 380 people voting after their deaths? Minnesota, 2009. They did a review of their statewide database of registered voters. And in 2009, it revealed that 2,800 deceased individuals voted in the 2008 general election. This is in Minnesota in 2009. They determined that in the general election just months before, that statewide, 2,800 zombies casting votes. After obtaining the list of voters who participated in that November's election, they tried to hire an independent firm. They finally found someone who could conduct the investigation, somebody to review the data, and they found definitively, by matching names and addresses to the state death records of people who voted, that indeed, in Minnesota, 2008, almost 3,000 people voted. January 2005. It's been determined now that in January of 2005, at least 8 people who died well before the November general election voted. This is in King County, Washington. County officials investigated and said these are not indications of fraud. And I would agree. Of the 8 people who voted in King County, Washington, 2004, it's not fraud. It's zombies. And it doesn't just stop with human beings. It doesn't just stop with humans that have died, and for whatever the reason, whatever supernatural power has enabled them to rise from their entombments to walk among us. It is not limited to just human beings. Mozart is a dog. Mozart is a dog that lives in Virginia. Mozart used to live in Virginia. He died, sadly for the family, 2 years ago. But even though Mozart was not human, and even though he died 2 years ago, he received a voter registration form in the mail just last week. His owner, Tim Morris, found in his mailbox last week a medium-sized envelope with a picture of a sticky note addressed to Mo Morris. Mo was the shortened version of Mozart that the family affectionately called their loving canine. Bedford County, Virginia. Mo Morris, the long-dead dog, received a voter registration form asking that he fill in boxes 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. A Pew Center report showed nationwide 24 million registered voters, or 1 in 8 of active voter registrations, have serious errors. A lot of those could be explained away. You might even be able to explain away the 2.75 million registered voters nationwide that are registered in multiple states. Yes, the 2.75 million registered voters that are registered in multiple states. You could maybe explain that away. But how do you explain away the 1.8 million registered voters that are dead? As of 8 weeks ago, there are 10,000 people dead, yet registered to vote in the state of Virginia. 1,000 in the state of Wisconsin are dead and yet registered to vote. 100,000 people in Massachusetts are registered to vote and dead. 1,500 of Maryland's deceased are currently registered to cast ballots on Tuesday. North Carolina has 30,000 zombie voters. A Bakersfield, California family received a letter in the mail. It was a mail-in ballot addressed to a relative who died 15 years ago. A North Texas man got a voter registration card in the mail for his dead mother. And in May, 53,000 dead Floridians were discovered registered to vote. Now, those 53,000 Floridians in May that were discovered as registered voters were purged. But do you think this is going to stop them from rising from their tombs and casting a vote for Democrats next Tuesday? Now, I have laid out story after story of people who are dead, yet registered to vote. People who are dead, yet have voted. Year after year after year. That's indisputable. That's real. There can be only one explanation. Only one reasonable explanation. And that is that the dead have risen from their graves and walk among us and like to vote. This is the time of year when that door, that gateway between worlds opens up, and gives them access to our world.
So, Doc, you think there's only one solution you can think of?
That the dead walk among us.
I can think of another one.
You've got another explanation.
I've got another explanation.
What is that other explanation?
Don't you think there's at least the chance that some of these instances might just be voter fraud?
No, that wouldn't happen.
How do you think not?
How do you vote if you're dead?
You think that it's more likely that zombies are walking into polling places and casting their ballot than...
Well, I keep hearing from so many people, like on MSNBC and then a bunch of liberals and the radical extreme left groups that said that none of this is real. That none of this is real. So your go-to explanation is zombies. Well, they've said that voter fraud isn't happening. They tell me that over and over.
I got some news for you, Doc.
They say we don't need voter IDs and stuff.
I've got some news for you. Voter fraud is real, and each of those cases you just laid out. I think exactly voter fraud.
Some people just won't believe. Some people, you can lay out all the facts and they just refuse to believe. Well, maybe I've convinced you. Maybe I haven't. 248-356-1270. 248-356-1270. Are you convinced that the dead walk among us?
Doc Thompson. It caught on in a flash.
Happy Halloween. It's Doc Thompson on Talk Radio 1270. So did I prove to you that the dead walk among us? 248-356-1270. 248-356-1270. Or are you like Skip that want to believe in voter fraud? I believe those extremist people on the left who keep telling me that voter fraud does not exist, and that's the reason we don't need a very simple policy of presenting a photo ID when voting. There is no voter fraud, they keep telling me. So if you believe that, then you must believe that the dead walk among us.
Fear not, parents. Some of you will be able to...
not that. I thought you had a dun. We'll get some calls, 248-356-1270. Let's go to Jimmy at Sterling Heights. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Doc.
Did I convince you? Are you a believer now?
I am convinced that what I think they need to do is, as I identify all the dead voters in the rolls, they need to put a little asterisk next to their name, and when they come up the register, to say I'm here to vote, you can take them back to the graveyard before they get up to the polling booth.
That's not a bad move. I mean, we got officially, Jimmy. I'm not that skilled on zombies and that. I know, what is it? A silver bullet for werewolves and garlic and a steak for vampires. What do you do for zombies?
I think local police standing by would be able to handle them and get them back to the graveyard.
Yeah, but how do you definitively take them down?
You just have to either decapitate them or like a stake through the head.
Destroy the brain.
It's all about the brain then, Jimmy. Okay, but you're right, though.
I'm thinking handcuffs would incapacitate them enough to transport them.
I see what you're saying there. I like the way you think. You're right. Let's have some sort of task force, a zombie task force ready. Very wise, Jimmy, very wise. 248-356-1270. You see that? Jimmy's with me on that.
Fools.
He's with me.
Come on. You really think it's more likely that zombies are casting their vote than somebody's lying?
Just let me give you another example.
Yeah, go and give me one. Maybe you'll convince me.
Cameroon, West Africa, Cameroon. They just had an election, and they determined that, yes, dead people actually voted in their election on October 9th. They voted on the 9th. And instead of saying these people shouldn't vote, their Supreme Court actually ratified the dead people's votes. I would say that gives them a certain degree of legitimacy. It's not just ratifying the votes. When your Supreme Court comes out and says, yes, those are legitimate votes, I mean, that is going to change campaigning.
Yeah, sure.
To say, he's getting the woman's vote, this guy's got the black guy vote, and this guy's doing really well with zombies.
The dead vote.
The dead. Is it the dead or the undead? The living dead?
I think the dead vote.
I think all of those apply, right?
I'm just going to go with it. Yeah, I think all those apply, but I'm going to go with the dead vote.
He's got the living dead vote. Then you got the people on CNN, the pundits out there going, he's polling really well with zombies.
Justice Smith has a zero-tolerance policy for violence against zombies.
Like the three women that want to be your Supreme Court justice and have a zero-tolerance policy for violence against women and children, but not against men.
Supreme Court Justice Smith won't allow zombies to be violated.
I know you're all concerned with my rotting flesh, but no means no. So there's another example.
Hands off my rotting flesh.
248-356-1270. Kevin, 23 North, how are you?
Hey, Doc, I'm doing well. The last caller's point about trying to take the zombies back to the graveyard, wouldn't that be disenfranchising the zombies?
You know what? That is a great point, Kevin. I'm glad you brought that up. I will have none of this disenfranchisement. If they deserve their vote, too, if they have to not live in this country, then, damn it, they ought to have a vote.
That's right. I mean, isn't that just going to open up the ACLU to come in and have all kind of lawsuits about disenfranchising them?
You know, even if you're somebody that don't want them to have a vote, you're right. It just opens up all that lawsuit, all the headache, and we spend a lot of money, so just let them vote, right?
Yeah, let them vote. And, you know, as long as we're going to let them vote, we might as well have Mitt get out the zombie vote ads. He's got a week left.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Kevin. I don't know how well Mitt will do with the zombies. Zombies seem to be uni-focused about eating other people's flesh. That seems like a more of a liberal stance.
Don't judge them, though, Doc.
Well, I'm just saying, traditionally, you got to make inroads. If the Republican Party is going to survive, they're going to have to make inroads into areas they haven't been successful, like people who like, eating human flesh.
You're right.
So you're right. Maybe the Republicans might step up and say, hey, we're in it for you, too. Maybe we can send them some stimulus or something like that.
I got it. We need to develop a program, not food stamps, but flesh stamps.
That's a great. Can you buy human flesh with your EBT card?
Probably. You could buy anything else with it.
Joe and Troy, you're on Talk Radio 1270. How are you? Hello, Joe. Are you there? Joe going once, going twice. John, Lake Orion, how are you?
Hey, how's it going? I agree that it's just straight voter fraud. I like the angle on Halloween. However, it's a super serious subject, and it's broke across the nation. And the question is, you throw all the stats out there, how do we fix it?
Thank you, John. I'm so glad you're with me on this. Doc is trying to make light of this, saying zombies are going to go out and vote when this is a serious issue about voter fraud.
You're being very serious. I appreciate your call, John. And you know what? To your point, I will give you a little ammunition for you and Skip.
I don't like that you're making light of this, Doc.
January 2005, just after the 2004 election that saw President Bush get reelected, there was a story about a guy with Robert Holmgren. And the story went like this, that sadly, his wife of 4 decades died of liver cancer. And he admitted in this article to reporters that he came home to find her absentee ballot. She had died. He was dealing with all the funeral arrangements and that. He comes home from work a couple of days after he had completed all of this stuff, and his absentee ballot, along with hers, in the mail. He filled it out. He says with what her intended votes were. He forged her signature, and he mailed it in along with his. And he said this, I know by the law it wasn't right, but it felt right in my heart. I wasn't trying to defraud anybody. I was just going with my wife's last wishes.
Yes, you were trying to defraud somebody. You forged a signature. And
I just helped you out on how it wasn't zombies, though.
But I don't like how he says he's not trying to defraud anybody. Clearly, it was a case of somebody doing voter fraud. That's defrauding people. How does he say he's not trying to defraud anybody?
By the way, in that county, during that election, 24 dead people credited with voting. Now, his clearly was, he just filled it out.
Oh, you think 20, the other 23?
The other 23, the dead walk among us.
That is.
More of your calls coming up next. 248-356-1270. It's Doc Thompson, Talk Radio 1270.
Doc Thompson.
It's Doc Thompson on Talk Radio 1270 at the big election. A major election coming up next Tuesday. And I have just proven, based on all the statistics, the people that are registered to vote yet dead, and the people that have voted in the past, that I think likely zombies walk among us.
You're still going with you've proven.
I think it lays it out quite nicely.
Come on.
248-356-1270. We'll get some of your calls. Sandy and Troy, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. Good to trust again, listening to you. I think all the liberal zombies should be allowed to eat all the liberals. But, it's so true. And not only that, but every, 5 seconds after a Republican is elected, the liberals want to recall him, like they're doing with Janice Daniels. So it's not only that. There's no damn zombies. There's lying liberals, and I hate them anymore. Anyone who identifies with them makes me sick anymore, because how can they go along with it? Not call it out like you do with Republicans.
Sandy, I'm with you. I can't believe Doc is making a mockery out of this and saying it's zombies. It's not zombies that are voting. It's voter fraud. Am I right, Sandy?
You're absolutely right, but if the zombies are out there, let them meet the liberals that are still alive. Before they get to the polling box, before they can recall Romney when he's elected.
Excellent call, Sandy. Thank you so much. 248-356-1270. Leslie and Novi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. Well, the other day you were talking about the UN coming in and watching over the elections, so they can probably determine if there's zombies or not, and maybe they have a solution.
I'm wondering if there is a zombie representative. I don't know what goes on in the bowels of the UN, but that is a great point.
Perhaps
Sandy.
there's a zombie union. Oh, well, most union people are zombies.
Martin in Westland, you're on Talk Radio 1270. How are you?
Hey, guys. How you doing, man? I love the show.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
I really do. But I wanted to ask, I study polling a lot, and I wanted to ask, does anybody out there have any breakdowns in percentages? How many zombies are independent? How many zombies are Republican? How many are Democrat? I'm interested to know. I thought we had 52% zombies in the last presidential election, but that's surely another topic of conversation.
No, Martin, that is a really good point. There's not been a lot of zombie research when it comes to polling at this point to how they traditionally vote. That is something that we could probably get some sort of government grant for, and maybe we should look into. And as the parties move forward and try to go after that coveted zombie vote, I'm sure they will do more and more research. But my speculation is this, and Skip, maybe you can help me out here. I'm going to assume that most zombies vote Democrat. Based on the lack of respect for personal freedoms, just walking all over the place, eating people's flesh, invading their homes, lack of personal freedoms and respect for personal property, that puts you in the big lib category. Eating people's flesh, I'm going to go ahead and put that in the lib category. I would also say this. Based on their slovenly appearance, the fact that they have no respect for themselves, I'm going to say zombies not only are liberal and vote Democrat, I'm going to say zombies are occupiers.
I'm still very, very concerned with how you're taking this so lightly, Doc.
Mike in Mount Clemens, you're on Talk Radio 1270.
Hey, Doc, I just wanted to ask if you don't think that the 57 million people who voted for Obama last time isn't clear evidence of brain-dead voters. I mean...
That is an excellent point, Mike. So you're with me that this is a possibility.
It's more than possibility. It's evidentially provable with the electorate. I mean, the guy had no credentials, no resume, no screening process to discern if he was actually eligible to serve. And 57 million people said, hey, I'll take him anyway. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he represents.
That is an excellent point, Mike, and I appreciate your call. 248-356-1270. Let's get to North Branch. Bill, how are you?
Hi, nice to talk to you.
You as well, sir.
Hey, I'm thinking that you can't fight progress, so let's just organize a grassroots effort and get the unborn to vote, because I think they probably would vote conservative and pro-life.
That is a great point, Bill. So you're saying we fight the progressive occupier attitude of the undead voting for Democrats with votes for the unborn. And I think Bill's right. Who do you think the unborn's going to vote for? People who don't want him to be born? People who are willing to abort him? I think he's right on.
This is the last time I let you prep an entire hour by yourself, Doc. I am just...
Do I have to give you more proof?
I am appalled of you making a mockery out of this system. Serious. This is a serious topic.
But I'm going to give you more proof because you are So cynical.
I'm not cynical. I'm being realistic here.
In Texas, El Paso, Texas, on July 24th, Sherman Hemsley, the famous actor, sadly passed away. You remember Sherman Hemsley? He was from the Jeffersons. I think he went on to do Amen and whatnot. In his home, El Paso, Texas, July 24th, he passed away. He has not been buried yet. Sherman Hemsley has not been buried yet, even though he passed away July 24th. Now, I speculate either he was buried but unburied himself, or
Doc,
his family knows that he likely will rise again, and they're leaving him at home unburied
Doc,
in hopes that he will rise from the grave.
I have no words.
Do you think there's any other possibilities for him not being born or buried yet?
Well, it could be the same thing as to deal with Michael Jackson being unburied for 2 months. Money. Dollars.
What do you mean dollars?
They're fighting over his body, over where he's going to be interned, over who's going to get his fortune. Come on, Doc.
Well, wait a minute. I'm going to pull this up on the internet.
Seriously, this is the last time I ever let you do an hour by yourself. This is ridiculous.
All I saw was that he wasn't buried yet. So let me look at this here. Hang on. All right, there's the story. Yeah, Sherman Hemsley, July 24th.
Yeah.
Oh,
what is it? What does that owe?
Well, there's a little.
No, what is it? Say it.
A little more to the story.
Say it.
The beneficiaries of his will are calling into question his death and who's really the beneficiary in that. Yeah,
there it is.
There's a dispute between his former manager and his self-proclaimed business partner and his live-in best friend, Flora Ekaton, who was named the sole beneficiary of his will, and also a Philadelphia man, Richard Thornton, who claims to be his brother.
So you're saying this might have to do with money?
I'm just laying out the story.
Okay. Just getting clear here.
Helmsley has said that he was an only child, so this guy, whatever, but they're fighting over this. And then another person has come forward vowing to intervene on the issue. There is a bench trial set for this afternoon in Texas. They're fighting over, according to this story, they're fighting over his entire estate. They all want his entire estate.
Money?
Yeah, the entire thing, though. Valued at $50,000.
Wait, 50? How does Sherman Helmsley only have $50,000 in his estate? Didn't he have this deluxe apartment in the sky?
In the sky, high. That was George Jefferson. The actor is much more, reasonable. George Jefferson.
This is very insensitive. Bob,
why? What's wrong?
Stop that.
What do you mean?
You guys... I give you guys 1 hour because you guys said you have a really good idea.
We did a really good job with this hour. We got a ton of calls.
Fine.
Everything went great.
I'm going to trust you guys.
We even came up with this thing.
And we get zombies voting and you playing the Jeffersons.
Let me give you another story.
The man is dead.
Okay,
have you no respect?
Get rid of that, Boz.
I'm sorry.
Let's take it a little more serious here. I'll give you another example. I've got one more.
Oh, man.
Jason Chinley is a bar owner in the UK, and he has a lot of regular customers. Last Friday night, after closing time, he's shutting all the windows, locking the doors, cleaning up. He strolls into the men's restroom and notices the body of one of his regulars. His regular's name is Mark Howells. Why did that require one of those?
It just did.
You guys.
He didn't call the police about the dead body. He didn't call anybody about the dead body. Instead, he hid the body of the 48-year-old in a first-floor bedroom off the pub. I think he, too, believes in zombies. Yeah. He was going to perform some sort of zombie ceremony in order to keep this guy from coming back to life.
Wow. Come on.
Now, there is some other speculation of why he didn't call anybody about the zombie or the body in the bathroom. It was Friday night. It was Friday night when he found the body.
Friday night,
which is followed by Saturday and Sunday, which is
the big bar night.
Yeah, lots of drinking on those nights.
Just ask Boz.
And
hey, you. All right.
Wait, no, Boz for Saturday and Sunday doesn't wait till Saturday and Sunday. There are some people that are cynical and skeptical that are saying this pub owner didn't call the police because he feared that the investigation would likely cost him some business on Saturday and Sunday.
I would think, yeah.
According to the prosecutor, he said he did so as go ahead and make the extra money on the weekend, and that he would turn the body over on Monday.
Wow,
that thing is not an air freshener.
Yeah, wouldn't you at least put him in the cooler or
Seriously.
something?
Another one, Boz?
Yeah, it was nice.
Someone has a new favorite sound effect.
I love it.
The problem with not calling the police on the body, he was a pub regular. His family knew he was going to the pub, and his family said he was missing. So everybody for a couple of days was looking for him, and everybody at the pub kept saying to Jason, "Hey, where's Mark? Where is he? We haven't seen Mark. Where's Mark?" Well, he's in the bedroom because I don't want to lose money. I don't want to lose the money.
I would just like to take a moment right now and apologize to all of our listeners who have had to endure this last hour with Doc's whatever this is.
I laid out the proof. If you're somebody that will not add up the numbers, if you're somebody that is always going to be the naysayer, even when it's laid out in front of you, I mean, you probably don't believe in the Bigfoot.
No, Bigfoot? Come on! You know, it's no wonder why all of a sudden, come January, this show will no longer be heard.
Okay, that one deserved
Shocking.
it. That one deserved it.
Shocking.
You're blaming it all on me.
No, I think I'm to blame, too.
Yes.
I'm the trigger man on this one. I'm just...
Wow.
Well, we have learned a lot. This has been a really eye-opening hour, I think.
That's for damn sure.
Eye-opening hour about a lot of stuff. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and find out what we've learned today. It's Doc Thompson, Talk Radio 1270.
Doc Thompson.
What do you mean it's last call?
All righty, that is it, ladies and gentlemen, the end of the Doc Thompson Show. But before we go, as always, let's find out what we learned today. We learned that the first plague on the Northeast was flood. The second is owls. We learned that for your protection, the TSA is stealing from you. We learned that there is no need to save ducks from water as they can swim and they can float.
Yes.
We learned that Sherman Helmsley is not moving on up. Okay, that's really... Who wrote that one?
That was you.
No, who wrote this on my sheet?
That was you.
It wasn't one of our writers?
Writers?
We learned that we don't have writers.
Yes.
We learned Michael Moore and some old people have threatened if Romney gets elected to burn this MFer down. Obviously, they're not talking about Detroit. It's too late for that.
Not 1985.
Doing it wrong.
We learned that, don't worry, New York and New Jersey will rebuild. Because people always rebuild.
Yes.
We learned that Hurricane Sandy would have been significantly worse if not for the treaty Obama signed with the storm. We learned that since Election Day was started or standardized, the past 6 presidential elections held on November 6th, the Republicans have won every one.
Incredible.
We learned that Jesse Jackson Jr. is going to help he's going to help communities. He's going to save the country for children and build a better world from rehab.
Yes, indeed.
Finally, we learned that zombies are real or voter fraud is real. Skip Lacombe, producer, what, if anything, did you learn today?
Been an educational show. I've learned a lot. First of all, I learned that if Mitt Romney wins the election, Grandma's going to watch you get freaky.
That's really wild.
I learned that Jesse Jackson Jr. is in rehab for a shopping addiction. Also learned that Jesse Jackson Jr. has received approximately $85,000 to be in rehab.
Nice.
Interestingly, I learned that Doc is against it, but I've always supported communities coming together.
Uh-huh.
For the good of the show, I am willing to travel to a Thai massage parlor on Northwestern this weekend. And finally, I will never allow Doc and Boz to prep an hour of the show by themselves ever again.
Boz, what if anything? Boz, Spin of the Dials radio style. What if anything did you learn today?
I learned that zombies love voting.
I'm with you on that, Boz. I'm glad we have solidarity here.
Yeah.
We learned today is day 63 of our anti-union hunger strike. Yada yada. We hate SAG-AFTRA.
Blah blah.
I'm running out of time
hungry
here.
and, yeah.
We didn't get to those. We didn't get to those new numbers on procrastination. What else do we have coming up tomorrow?
Oh, there's some new Prop 5 numbers out. Perhaps Prop 5 and Prop 3 are going to fail. We will have a guest to talk about Proposition 5. That's tomorrow at 5:05.
Yada yada. What does Charlie Plankton have coming up tomorrow?
Interestingly enough, a variety of compelling, hard-hitting, cutting-edge topics that impact Detroiters and All-Americans.
Yeah. Very good. Coming up election night, don't forget, we will be your anchormen. We will anchor the hard-hitting, cutting-edge variety topics of the election. Detroiters and All-Americans next Tuesday night. We'll be on the air for our regular show 3 to 6, and then we'll be on from 6 to whatever, 10, 11, until we turn that mother out. Until it's all set. I don't know what that means. But that'll be Tuesday night. Make sure that that's it. I'm done. I'm not even confused. The Doc Thompson Show is a Skip Lacombe, Jonah Falcon production. Good night, Steve Cannon. Wherever you are. On Young. Now, you go home.
I'm very sorry to all 5 of our listeners. Very, very sorry.
Doc